Thursday, the 11th of June. I'm Kathleen. This is Kathleen's Trodden Trail, and we are trying this for like the 5th time today. If this time doesn't work, I'm giving up. I guess I'm just not going to do a video. I recorded for almost a whole hour, and only to realize that I didn't press the record button. So, joy. Anyway, I'll watch the time today so that I know I'm recording. Okay, how are you? I hope everyone is doing great. I'm going to try to get through this really quickly because it's been a day so far. Noel Sampler, the 3rd duplicate copy. I did random number generator, had lots of comments from last week, and thank you so much for your kind comments and words of wisdom and thoughts on the subject. I really appreciate everything that everyone said. I did ask for this to be entered in this drawing for people to discuss their Christmas stitching in the summer, whether they did it or didn't do it. And overall, most people said, yeah, I do some Christmas stitching in the summer. A few people said absolutely not, November and December only. And but I think the majority of people do enjoy stitching in the summer. And so I did random number generator, and Linda Schindhelm, Linda Schindhelm, Linda, you won Noel Sampler. I feel like you've won before, but maybe that's not right. And if you have, that's okay. It's fair and square. I drew your name. So Linda, I'm going to put my email address here. If you would email me with your mailing address, I will get that in the mail to you here just as soon as I hear from you. So that would be great. Oh, my son just started the mower, so you might hear some mowing, but it won't take him long. So, okay, so I have a couple of finishes and a little bit of a fair amount of stitching, and but something really, really exciting to talk to you about. So I'm sure by now everybody has seen Emily C. Eclectic Possession, her duck derby information. And so Emily works for the Child Advocacy Center in her state, and she's a social worker, and I can't think of a more rewarding job. I also can't think of probably a more difficult job. And so she does, I'm sure, just amazing work. She is, every year the Child Advocacy Center sponsors a duck derby where folks can adopt a rubber ducky, and then those rubber duckies get raced in a pool or down a river or in a lake or whatever. And of course this year, due to social distancing and all of that good stuff, they can't have the actual duck derby, and so they're doing a virtual duck derby to raise money. I believe Child Advocacy is a nonprofit, but anyway, to raise money. And so Emily is trying to get as many people to go in and adopt ducks to raise money for a Child Advocacy Center. And if she stated last week, if she got over 1,000 people adopting ducks, she would get a duck tattoo. So that happened right off the bat, and so she's going to get a new duck tattoo. But several other people have jumped on the bandwagon as well, including Michelle Rudy, Farm Girl, who said if Emily gets 5,000 donations in her name, she'll get a duck tattoo. And I don't think Michelle has any tattoos, so that's kind of exciting. But in addition, Michelle is also giving away a beautiful hand-woven basket as a prize for anyone who, if you adopt a duck, your name gets entered, and you have the chance to win this basket. And so this is a cause near and dear to my heart. I actually didn't grow up in the foster system, but I spent some time when I was quite young in the foster care system, twice actually, 2 different times. And I know that it can be a very broken system. It's very necessary. Their foster parents, some of the greatest people in the world, but it's a rough go, right? And so when I saw this, I went right over. Emily has a link in her video, in her latest video, with a link to the Child Advocacy Center, and you know, a button that you push to adopt a duck, and it's very simple, and you can spend $5, you can spend $1,000, whatever amount. You can adopt one duck or a whole litter of ducks, and I don't think they're called a litter, but you know, a bunch of ducks. At any rate, I watched her video and then watched Michelle's video, and several other people have donated really awesome things. I think there's a quilt been donated and some needle miners. Emily is making 2 custom bags as giveaways for to be entered, and so a number of things. And I thought, well, yeah, I want to adopt, and I want to do something to encourage other people to adopt. And so I came up with the idea of a hooked rug, something that most people in the cross-stitch community don't have access to or don't do, although it's catching on. More and more people are starting to rag hook. So I have, and the Duck Derby is June 27th, and so I don't have a lot of time, but I have a ton of rugs. And so I thought I will donate a rug, and I got with Emily to see if she was interested, and she was, and I sent her pictures of, I don't know, 8 or 9 different rugs, and she picked one. And so as soon as I'm done filming this time around, I'm popping this in the mail to Emily. And then if you're interested in this, if you adopt a duck and let Emily know that you've adopted a duck, your name can be entered to win this or any number of other prizes. And so this is the rug. This is called Primitive Peacock. And Emily was really interested in something happy. And so I said, well, you know, beauty's kind of in the eye of the beholder, right? Most of my rugs are very primitive. I like that style. And so this rug was actually made to look like an old beat up rug. So for example, do you see how it looks like it's patched right here? See how this wool is different than this wool? I did this in an heirloom class, which, by the way, all of the 100% of the wool in this was hand dyed by my sweet friend Janice Lee at the rug hooking store. All hand dyed. But anyway, and Janice does the heirloom class, and it was her suggestion, let's make this look like maybe this wool had been stained, or maybe it had worn away, and the person who had hooked the rug didn't have this color anymore, and so they had to fix this kind of worn away spot with a little bit different color. The roses, the pink roses, are supposed to look like maybe at one point they had been red and the red had faded out. You can see that the background wool is very modelly. There are a couple of spots in the peacock, for example here, that looks like, oh, maybe that was hooked as an afterthought. Maybe the rug hooker had run out of this color, you know, whatever. I hooked this rug. I mean, this isn't an old rug, but that was the idea behind it in heirloom class. So Primitive Peacock, I believe the measurements are 19 inches by 33 inches. It is crochet bound, so you can see maybe the crochet edging, crochet bound. And then I did something I've not done before, but I added a ribbon, kind of a ribbon binding on the back, just to give it a more finished look on the back. So I will stick this in the mail to Emily, and then on June 27th, Emily, I believe at that point, will draw for Michelle's basket and the quilt and the rug and whatever else she has, her bags, whatever else she has. So if you're interested and have any desire at all to donate a little bit to the Child Advocacy Center, I really encourage you to go over to Emily's FlessTube video, click on the link, and go ahead and do a donation. That is a great way to give and kind of to help somebody out. So yeah, so enough said about that. Okay, that's that. And then I had an FFO this week. I finished the little bird from the Serenita design. This one, the summer bird. And the last time we talked, I had finished the bird, but the lilac bushes in the background were giving me some trouble, and those lilac bushes about put me over the edge. I had the hardest time finishing them, but I finally sat down yesterday and forced myself to finish, and then got frames and went ahead and laced it and framed it. And so I love this super, super rustic frame. It's just, I think it's perfect. And I'm sorry for the glare, but there is the little bird, the little summer bird. The company name, or the designer name, is Serenita de Campagna, and this particular design is Cincinnalgra Trees. I don't know. I'm slaughtering that. But anyway, it's just a little, I think this is a titmouse bird. I think that's what that is. I just love these little birds, and really the thing about this particular one is the bees. Those bees are so sweet. So I was very, very happy to have that done, and then I went ahead and started on autumn yesterday, and so this is autumn with little bird with some really pretty little bittersweet and autumn grasses, and I love it. And I got started on it and then realized that I think that's the direction. I don't know. I think that's the direction of it. Got started on it and realized that I needed B52, and so, which I'm completely out of, and actually need it for several projects. So I put it down until I can get some B52. But the birds themselves stitch up. This bird is a little more complicated. It has a little bit more confetti than the other one did. But the birds themselves stitch up pretty quickly. So I ought to be able to get autumn done pretty quickly, and then, move on to winter and then spring. Then I had one FO, and that was a year of celebrations by Hands-On Designs, Kathy Haberman, and I was able to finish up June. The funny thing about small stitches is, or for me at least, I start on them, maybe work on them, that first time for an hour or so, and you feel like you get quite a few stitches in, and you think, oh, I don't have that much left to do, and then you might not pick it up for a week or two, and you pick it up and you're like, oh, I have so much left to do. So I got the sandcastle done, which was kind of the hardest part, and I think these stars done, and really have just kind of had to fill in around. These little waves are really cute and effective, but kind of takes some time. So anyway, got it all finished. I've kind of mentioned this before, that I think of June as a blue month. Not blue as in sad, but just in my mind, every month has a color associated with it, and sort of medium light to medium blue is how I see June. And so I thought this was perfect fabric to do, and that's showing up pretty clear. It's a blue-gray with a little bit of pinky purple in it, and I have enough of it to do July on that, which is done in pretty true red, white, and blue colors. So that'll look nice on there. And then every month is going to be done on a different kind of fabric, but all in 32 count, and I'll do them all as stand-ups that will kind of sit in a little in a basket of some sort. I haven't found it yet, but I have faith that I'll find it soon. Okay, I had a couple of new starts this week. Just, I don't know why. I have no explanation for why I would be starting new things, but nonetheless, I did. I had this idea that if I'm going to do Jolly July, if I'm doing Christmas ornaments in July, I should be doing Halloween ornaments in June. Like, that kind of made sense to me. And so I thought, oh, okay, I have all of these Halloween issue magazines. Let me go pull some small, little ornament type things, or little parts that I can make into ornaments. And I'll do a bunch of small ornaments this month. And the first thing I found that I decided to stitch, it's not it's not huge, but it's not super small. But it's this piece, 31st of October by the Primitive Hare. And I absolutely love the Primitive Hare. I was watching a video this week, one of her daily videos by Julie at Reflections Framing and Stitching, and she was talking about spiders and hating live spiders, which I don't mind snakes, but live spiders not my bag. But I think they're cute in stitching. I don't have a problem with stitched spiders. So anyway, then I saw this and I went to pull linen for it to stitch it, and I thought, oh, I want something really old and scruffy looking and like it's been, put through the ringer, and which I don't know, because that linen doesn't look that way. And so early Sunday morning I got up. I actually got to go to church this weekend. It was very exciting. So I'm Catholic, and our church started offering in-person services this last week, and it's all very different. It's all, social distancing, every other pew 6 feet apart. You have to wear a mask and no holy water. Communion is in your seats. It's a whole different ball of wax. But anyway, so I went to church on Saturday night at 5 o'clock, which Catholics have Saturday night service. And it was wonderful. It was so great. So then Sunday morning I got up super early and thought, okay, so I've done church, I've been to church, and so I'm gonna dye some linen and see what I can come up with. So I think I ran this through several different pots of coffee and tea combined, and splattered it and soaked it and dunked it and boiled it and put it in the oven, just to get it really as old and yucky looking as I could. And I really am really pleased with how it turned out. It really looks like something was just spilled on it. And so it turned out like that. And then there's my start on October 31. I didn't have the floss that was called for. I think it was a gassed floss that was called for here. So I took 2 different colors of DMC orange and combined them. And I got a little bit of model in it. I don't think you can see it. There is a little bit of modeling in it. But I think I'm going to try to come up with something a little more model-y for the pumpkin down here. The other thing I may do is I may redunk it after I stitch it. There is some white in it, but it's okay. It's okay if the white ends up really dirty looking. I have never done that. I've never had the courage to coffee tea dye something after I stitch it, but I think I might with that piece and just let it look really, really old and funky. I think that would be fun. And then Teresa Kogut, Buckeye Stitcher, Nicole talked about this in her video several weeks ago. Teresa Kogut is doing this awesome, cool thing where she has come up with, I don't know, 10 or 12 different designs for of her own, and the proceeds of the sales of those designs is going back to serve various brick and mortar shops around the country, just to kind of help in this time of, that's where they've had to be closed. And I think that's such a sweet, wonderful thing for her to do. I'm sure that online stores, maybe haven't suffered as much in this time, but brick and mortars having to be closed certainly have. And so I went on to her. If you go to her Etsy store, she has just one is cuter than the next, and I think I bought 3 or 4. But one that I was particularly excited to start, and I don't have a picture of it because it's on my iPad, but one that I was excited to start was the one that I think she did for Keepsakes in Cincinnati. And it's called Penny's Garden, and it's a hen on top of a bee skep watering her garden with a big watering can. And a couple weeks ago, or last week I guess it was, I showed you where I put Rise and Shine, and I have a shelf that has a bunch of chickens on it, different forms, and behind it is a hanging plate with a bird on it, and it just looks so out of place there. And so I wanted to stitch something that I could replace that with and have that whole section be chickens and roosters and fowl. And so anyway, I got to start on Penny's Garden. This is on a piece of it's called Painter's Threads fabric that I bought at Reflections. it's a piece of, I can't even say it, but it's even weave linen is what it's called on here. And it has all kinds of different colors in it. Let me see if there's, no, it's just Longan linen. I'd never seen it before. Julie had it in a little basket. And it's got everything from pink to yellow to a little bit of purple in it. And I don't know, I just thought that that would be cute on there. Now I stopped because down here, there's a section in here that calls for onyx. And I am completely out of black and white, both DMC 310 and B5200, but also, you know, any of the classic Colorworks whites or blacks, I'm completely out. So Colleen happened to let me know yesterday that she was headed over to Reflections to pick up an order that she had made online and to see if I needed anything. And I'm like, yeah, I need black and white. And so I called Julie right away, and Julie put together some blacks and whites for me. So I'll have those tomorrow, and we'll get to keep on working on that, because I'd like to get that done so I can get that up there. And then I was talking to, I don't know, Nicole or Pam or somebody. I actually think I was talking to Pam, Stitching Between the Lines, one day last week. And we were just talking about how we were both sort of trying to send a little business to the way, for sure to the way of brick and mortars, and then also to any, you know, like online stores that might be, you know, sort of hurting a little bit in this time. And as we were talking, I realized that I hadn't purchased anything from Keepsakes online, and they have a, you know, an ability to purchase things online. And so and about the same time, I saw on Facebook that they had the new Prairie Schooler Santa come out, and Barb had put out a thing that said, you know, if you're interested in this, let us call the shop, let us know, and we'll get it in the mail to you. And so I did, and she said, do you want it kitted or not kitted? And I said, yeah, kit the whole thing up. And so this arrived very quickly, and I got a start on it. Now, here's full confession. I have never done a Prairie Schooler Santa. I never have. And I don't know why. And so now I kind of want to go back in time and do them all, which is, you know, that's never going to happen. But tempting. So anyway, I got a little bit of a start on the light today on Santa. What got me with this, and I told Barb this, the bunnies, those bunnies clinging on because of the north wind blowing. I think those are so cute. And you know, I've said this before about Prairie Schooler, where a few little stitches have a big impact, and I don't even think there's any back stitching in this, and they're, you know, maybe just, I don't think there's any half stitches, but I mean, just look at those bunnies, and they're just a few little stitches. So super cute. Now, I went ahead and had Barb kit this up on the called for, which is 18 count putty khaki Davos or Davos, Davos. I'd never heard of it before, and I'd never stitched on it. And I'm like, she's like, are you sure you want the, you know, the Davos? I think that's how she pronounced it. I'm like, sure, why not? You know, blah, blah, blah. So it came, and I'm like, and it's a really neat, it's more of a fabric than a linen, and it's just a really nice, I don't know, it feels nice, it's soft, but it's not too flimsy. But notice, it's in a hoop. I put in about, I don't know, 30 or 40 stitches in hand, stitching it in hand, and my stitches looked absolutely horrific. They were sliding. So, because you stitch it over one, and that wasn't going to work. So I put it in the hoop, and then the stitches are fine. So very interesting, but I really like this, and I think I would definitely stitch on it again. Now, it's more time consuming because I'm having to stab, but it's worth it I think, for the effect. So I may see what other Santas I can get over time, and maybe try to, I hate to say collect those, but I do have the Mill Hill little Santa ornament series, and I think I have, I've made several and given several away and kept several, but I probably have 8 or 9 or 10 of those still left to do. So you ever have those moments when you're just feeling restless and you just can't quite So yesterday I got a little start on the hen by Teresa Kogut, and then, I didn't have the right, the next color that I needed was onyx, and I didn't have that, so I put that away, and then I worked on something else, and I needed white for that, and I didn't have white for that, and I was just kind of at odds, and I thought, I'm going to start something new. And so I had kitted this up weeks and weeks ago. I showed it to you. It's Little House Needleworks Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Lots of people have stitched this. My husband, I showed it to him. Okay, full disclaimer. It's not like my husband was perusing Etsy for cross-stitch designs and saw this and asked me to stitch it for him. I showed this to him and said, what do you think? And he said, oh, I like that. You should stitch that. And that's the first time he's ever said that to me. And so anyway, he's a huge baseball fan, and so is my son, and they're both very much missing baseball. I've talked about this. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this a start. Just feeling restless. I don't know. I don't know. These are weird times we're living in. Who's to say? But anyway, I go to start it. I looked at it for a little bit and thought, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start it in the middle, which is right here. And it called for Classic Colorworks Eggshell. And as I mentioned, unless I want to rob from another project, and I hate doing that, I don't have any white. And so I was like, oh, another project that I don't have floss for. But I realized if I just moved over just a little bit to the left of the middle, then I could start on the brick wall. And so I did, and I got a pretty nice little start on that. And that wall, it was kind of fun. We were watching the series Homeland on Showtime. I'm not necessarily recommending it, not recommending it, enjoying it for sure. It's interesting. It's very action filled. It's a little bit violent. No, it's very violent. It's not a little bit violent. There's a lot of language in it. Sometimes the language gets me more than anything else. Like, sometimes you can just overuse a word. It's just not necessary. But anyway, we were watching that, and so every time I look at that brick wall, I'm going to think of Homeland, but needless to say. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, remember last week I talked about the Afghan that I was making, and for the friend who is expecting in September. And I showed you some really beautiful new yarns that I was going to use on it. I was starting it on white, and I didn't like the white, and so these are not going to work. So here's my little start, my sad little start. And this yarn is for a shawl or even sock yarn, and it's not. It's just, it doesn't have enough oompa in it. It's too fine. It's too fine. So I got about that far and thought, this isn't going to work. So back into my stash I go. I'm still resisting going to the yarn shop. And believe me, I have ordered, I think, 3 times from the yarn shop just since March. So it's not like I'm not sending my business that way. But went back through my stash, and I found some Manos de Uruguay yarn, which is a washable wool yarn, and I have colors that are kind of jungle-ish, which is what she wanted. And so I didn't bring it up here with me. I should have, but I'll show it to you next time. I started that, and there's just more to it, and it'll be a lot of fun to stitch that up for her. So I'm having fun with that. So it's Thursday. I do need to do a little bit of gardening. I did take a couple pictures of the garden, and I will insert them either at the beginning or here or somewhere. Please excuse, there's already weeding that needs to be done. Those weeds, I would really like to put, the black, it's not tarp, but the black landscape fabric down to avoid the weeds, but my husband is completely against that. He just feels like if you have a garden, you get in there and you weed it, and he's the one that does the majority of the weeding. So I kind of made a vow this year that I would go out first thing in the morning and weed, and every day, and just keep up with it every single day. I usually go out first thing in the morning and water all the flowers. I have flowers in pots in both the front and the back. And those typically, when it's hot in the summer, need to be watered pretty much every day, sometimes twice a day if it's really hot. But anyway, I the first day that I noticed weeds popping up, I weeded about a week, maybe 10 days ago. And then the first day since then that I noticed a few new weeds, I was yesterday morning, and it had rained through the night, and so it was just muddy and yuck. And so I need to get out there and weed. But nevertheless, I am going to insert a picture so you can see, because the garden is doing very well. I'm super excited because the sunflowers and the pumpkins have popped up, and I only planted those about 10 days ago. So those are all up. There's zinnias. I don't know if you'll be able to see them in the picture, but in the back of the garden, there's a row of sedums that sort of lines the back of the garden. Bindi has managed to dig some of those up. Beyond those is a layer of sand that washed in from the flood, and I planted zinnias in that layer of sand, and they are coming up really well. And so it's coming along. My tomatoes look great. My cucumbers are looking good. I think I did one yellow squash. It's coming. So it's looking good. I'm excited about that. So a little bit of coming up for the next few days. A little bit of gardening is going to need to happen, and it's only supposed to be in the 80s, I think, until Monday, so that I should take advantage of that. I'm walking with my friend Gail today at 2:45. That'll be good. We'll do another. Oh, we did a big hike this last weekend in Iowa, which is surprisingly hilly. And people say that about Omaha all the time. People always think Nebraska is very flat, and there are parts of Nebraska that are very flat, but on each end of the state, west and east, it is not flat. It is very hilly, and Omaha is very hilly. I always kind of had it in my mind that Iowa was very flat, because when you drive across Iowa on I-80 or up I-29, it's relatively flat. And we went to just outside of Crescent, which is only about maybe 30-45 minutes from our house, just outside of Crescent, Iowa, and there is a state park and with all kinds of walking trails. And my husband said they're all marked as moderate, easy or moderate. We won't do any of the difficult ones. Holy cow. If the trail we were on was easy or moderate, I don't want to see the difficult trail. It was tough. It was so much fun, and we saw lots of cool things, including a snake. But it was beautiful, but it was really hot. I think it was 93 or 95 with 87% humidity. So it was sunny, not a cloud in the sky. So I will try to insert some pictures here. I almost died. My family was very sweet and patient with me and went slow and let me take lots of breaks in the really steep areas, but it was hard. And there was one point where I kind of questioned whether I was going to make it out alive. But I know I did, and it was fine. And so that was fun. And so we kind of made a decision that through the rest of the summer, since we really aren't able to travel. So my husband is still working from home, and his company is still in that mind frame that, stay home, work from home, be safe. And they're able to. But at this point, it's through July 6th, and they've kind of asked people that, we realize that things are opening up, but we're going to ask you to, since you're working from home and we're trying to keep everybody healthy and safe that way, please don't travel. Please don't, eliminate everything that we're trying to do and keeping you at home. And so you can do things with your family, and you can, obviously go to the grocery store and that kind of thing. But they're really asking them to not, like, you know, go to events and be around lots of other people and, you know, that sort of thing. And so so we think traveling is probably going to be off this summer, and we usually try to take some kind of a family vacation every summer. So we've made a decision that each week we're going to try to go to find a new hiking trail, either in Nebraska, maybe Iowa. We could go down into Missouri, maybe even, but stay fairly close, and, you know, just us, and pretty remote, and try to do some hiking and see some things that we haven't been able to see before. So that's the plan, and hopefully I'll get in better shape. You don't realize I do a lot of walking, but I walk on flat. You know, our neighborhood is very flat. There's a lake that my friend Gail and I are walking at today. It's very flat, and you don't realize that the difference between walking a long distance on flat turf versus walking a shorter distance on very hilly turf. It's a whole nother, I think it takes a whole other set of muscles and a lot more heart work to do that. So hopefully I can get in a little bit better shape. But yeah, so that's what we're doing, and yeah, and hoping to get a lot of stitching done. I would like to stitch more Halloween kind of stuff, and I'm really craving a sampler to work on. So not a new start, but one I already have going, and I don't know which one. But I'm really kind of craving working on a sampler. So need to think about that. So anyway, that's it for today. I don't have any more giveaways. I don't have any more duplicates for now. I'm sure I'll come up on some others, or have some other fun giveaways to do here soon. But for now, that's it. And so, yeah, that's it. Have a great day. Hope you're well. Hope you're getting some stitching time, and we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.